Hi folks, welcome to the Cannabis Corner. I'm your host, Carey Burns. Throughout the history of the United States, we've been involved in many wars. And excluding the Civil War and World War II for the number of casualties that these wars caused, the number 3 casualty-causing war of the entire United States history is the war on drugs. This war on drugs is also the longest war we've ever been in, currently pushing over 40 years. And if you look at the average wars throughout history, they've ranged anywhere from 4 to 5 to, in some cases, just a couple years. But 4 to 5 years has been about average. But this particular drug war has lasted 40 years, since the early 1970s, and is still going on today. And the cost of this war has already exceeded trillions of dollars to this country. And when you look at the fact that we've spent over trillions of dollars to go after drugs in this country, and the fact that 60% on average of all drug arrests are marijuana crimes, and most of those are for possession and not distribution or anything, then we're spending a fortune in this country just to go after the pot smokers. And this is really insane. We don't do this for any other substance out there. Alcohol and cigarettes kill 500,000 people a year, and we do nothing unless you get caught with a DWI or anything like that. There's no cops, no gangs going out and chasing down these people and all. So this war on drugs is very far-reaching, and that's what our episode tonight is going to be about. We're going to talk about this war on drugs, how it's affected America, how it is one of the leading causes of why we are so far in debt in this country, because all of the money that we use for drug interdiction, wars, that type of stuff, we borrow this money, and it's gotten to the point now where we can't even pay the interest on the debt, which is exceeding $15 trillion right now in the United States. All of the income tax that's collected every year from the citizens who work goes only to pay the interest on the debt. We never pay 1 penny on the principal. And when we look at the fact that the drug war over the last 40 years has cost this country in excess of $2.5 trillion, then there's something going on here, folks, that we really need to take a look at. And there are estimates today that if we stop this war on drugs today, that just from law enforcement, court costs, and incarceration and stuff, we would save around $80 billion a year right now. Just today. That's today's figures. And the average cost of keeping a prisoner in jail in the federal level is around $55,000 per prisoner. And when you look at that, we have nearly 800,000 to 1 million people locked up in federal prisons and state prisons for marijuana. We're spending a fortune just to house these potheads, pot smokers, cannabis users, herb users, whatever title you want to fix to it. It's absolutely insane. When you look too that cannabis has never killed anyone. We've had people using cannabis for 5,000 years, smoking the strongest varieties that we have on the planet, up to 20-25% THC, and we have never had one recorded overdose ever since the dawn of time. We've never even had in this country not one visit to the emergency room for cannabis overdose. So why are we doing this, folks? Why are we putting so much effort into chasing after this herb? And that's what it is. It's an herb. And here's the reason why. It's big money. Marijuana busts notoriously have been easy for not only the cops, but it's been easy for the court systems. And when you have that type of ease, where you got no problems in the arrest, no problems in the justice phase of it, in the sentencing phase, guess what? We keep the prison industrial complex at maximum filling in the prisons. Right now, since 1980, we've arrested more than 15 million people in this country for cannabis, and about 75 to 80% of those have been for possession. Very few get arrested for distribution. I mean, on a chart where you have 800,000 or 900,000 people getting arrested in 1 year, which the figure was in 2009, only 99,000 of those were arrested for distribution. The other 758,000 were for possession. And when you look at the cost of this, folks, and the fact that nobody's ever died from it and all, this is really fishy. And in my last episode, we talked about the Prop 19 and how the no vote we might as well have been giving a vote to the cartels. This is why, because when we keep a substance illegal in this country, all we do is promote gang violence. We promote cartel activity. And in Mexico alone, in the last 4 years, just due to the drug cartel violence, over 30,000 people, innocent people, have been killed because of this drug war. And the drug war itself encompasses mainly marijuana. This is who is going to control the cannabis market in the United States. And we just don't need to be doing this. It's a waste of resources. We estimate right now in this country that we could be saving not only the $75 billion that we spend each year trying to interdict marijuana and all the arrests and all, but we're holding up a hemp industry that, as far as tax revenues, I mean, you're looking at anywhere from $500 million to $1 trillion industry that is going to bring in about $100 billion to $200 billion in taxes a year just on the sales tax of the various products that we could generate. And it wouldn't take too many years like that. And if you added the trillions of dollars that we spent in the last 40 years to interdict marijuana, we could pay off our debt. We would not be in this debt. And our debt, this is money we're borrowing, we're paying interest on. So when you get to doing the numbers like that, we've just about got it to the point of no return to what we're spending just to chase after these cannabis users. And the end result is we're keeping the hemp industry from occurring. And this is where the gold mine is. We've got to quit spending all of this federal money, taxpayers' money, on chasing after people who want to use the safest herb on the planet. Nobody's ever died from this. You can't, since we started the war on drugs in the 1970s, over 25 million people had died from the effects of alcohol, cigarettes, and prescription drugs. 25 million people. Not only do we take out the productive members of our society, because a lot of these people are very young people. They're in their prime of their life, in their late teens, early 20s, their most productive time of their life, when they're the strongest, when they're the sharpest. We are incarcerating these people, and not only is it costing us a fortune, but we're taking these people out of our society. And if you turned it around, where instead of spending all this money to chase after these people, and we put this type of money into our economy, and then you look at all those people, the amount of money that they would be generating into the economy from having jobs, you can see that this war on drugs is a flake. And the biggest reason it's a flake is because of our Drug Enforcement Agency. Here we have an agency. Now, if you're at most, some estimates say that we interdict between 10 and 15% of the illegal drugs that come into this country. Well, I'm sorry, folks, that's just not accurate. This is giving them the benefit of the doubt. When you look at the actual figures, the actual number of arrests, you look at the actual number of seizures that are going on versus what comes across the border, the Drug Enforcement Agency may interdict up to 4 or 5% of what's coming in. 95% of the drugs, marijuana, cocaine, all of them, all the illicit drugs that come into this country, 95% of them make it past the Drug Enforcement Agency's strong arm. And so basically what this means is that we are paying a fortune to this Drug Enforcement Agency to run hotshot over the marijuana business in this country. And basically they're doing about 5% of their work. If you and I worked at a job and we, at the end of the week, where the boss had all of the tasks set out for us to do, and we had only done 5% of them, and we kept that up week after week, year after year, month after year, decade after decade for 40 years, I'm afraid that our boss would have fired us within the first month if our productivity was that low. And this is why we need to do away with the Drug Enforcement Agency. Not only is it wrong to have a safe herb like cannabis, which kills nobody, absolutely nobody's ever died from cannabis, and the fact that we even have that on a controlled substance is beyond me. It just doesn't even make sense. And so you pretty much lean to the fact that this is an illegal activity that is even made more illegal by the Drug Enforcement Agency. What they are doing by arresting people and putting them in jail for a substance that's basically as the safe as they get on the planet as far as an illicit substance. I think we need to take a look at that. And that's why I told the voters who voted no for Prop 19, you might as well be giving your vote to the cartels, because now when you don't make measures to make cannabis legal in this country, all you're going to do is further the pocketbooks of these drug cartels. And folks, I mean, don't kid yourself. The gang wars, the drug wars and stuff that are going on in Mexico, this is over the marijuana business. Sure, they do bring over cocaine, they do bring over methamphetamine, they do smuggle heroin and all, but the bulk of their money, the bulk of the seizures that the DEA is taking in is cannabis, a safe, non-killing herb. So it just doesn't seem, you know, I'm not a rocket scientist, but it just doesn't seem very practical that we waste all of these resources, tax dollars, when we have an economy that's struggling right now, and we could really turn it around with this hemp industry, but we're keeping that from happening because we have this government agency, the Drug Enforcement Agency, that's keeping everything from happening. The only the measures in the past when people have filed petitions, Normal did one in 1972. The Drug Enforcement Agency didn't even look at it for 22 years. The second one that they filed after that one got ruled against, it took them 7 years to make a ruling on it. So how sweet it must be for the Drug Enforcement Agency to run carte blanche over this issue. Not only do they go out there and make all them have fat paychecks and stuff coming in for doing 5% of their job, but also they keep this industry, the hemp industry and stuff, from happening. And then when somebody tries to petition to get the Controlled Substance Act changed or done away with altogether, well, guess who's in charge of it? The Drug Enforcement Agency. It'd be like the person who does the 5% of the task that his boss has set out that week, that he's become the boss, and he just tells the boss, well, you know, I did 5%, screw you. And that's just about what's going on here in the United States. The drug war itself, not only the cost and trillions of dollars since the 70s, but the number of people who have died because of this drug war. And we're not talking about people that are battling it out. Sure, there's a lot of murders and stuff that go on in this country from gang-related activity, people fighting over turf wars and stuff. Those numbers aren't even figured in the totals. When you look at that in the year 2000, by the year 2000, the 30 years that the drug war had been going on, 120,000 people that were sent to prison for possession of cannabis contracted AIDS in prison and died for it. This is the third highest casualty rate, only outdone by World War II with 455,000 casualties, and the Civil War, which had around 650,000 casualties. Number 3 on the list, folks, is the drug war. And unlike all the other wars in this country that we've seemed to have engaged ourselves in all these foreign lands and stuff, other than the Civil War, which was between here in the United States, between the North and the South, we are waging this war against our own citizens. These are American citizens. These aren't criminals. Just because you use this herb, it really shows a lot of good sense when you compare the facts to the alcohol and the cigarettes and the other illicit drugs that are out there. Cannabis is the safe one. And people who choose to go that route really are playing it safe. We're not getting caught up in this statistical death rate that's going on out there that you see with prescription drugs and alcohol and cigarettes. Cannabis users use this drug at the tune of around 50 million people that are using it regularly in this country. I mean, we're talking about 15 to 20% of the population in this country are using cannabis daily with the fear of going to jail over it. And then right now we have around 1 million people in the 2 million prison population in the United States that are in there for possession of cannabis. And this is costing us in excess of $55,000 per prisoner. Folks, that's a lot of money. That's $55 billion a year that we're spending just to house these potheads. And that's insane. If you add up all the money that we're spending on the drug war, you add up all the money that we spent for the drug war since it began in the 70s when Nixon started it, we would not, if you took all of that money, and the fact that it's borrowed money, but if you took all that money and applied it to our debt, I'm telling you, things would look a lot rosier than they are. So let's jump on the bandwagon, folks. Write your congressman. Do anything you can. Demand the end of this drug war. Demand the abolishment of the Drug Enforcement Agency. They're not doing their job anyway. No matter how much we pay them, no matter how much resources we pump into it, they're not doing their job. And I would like to invite all of you to tune in Friday night to Casper Leitch's Time for Hemp program. I'm going to be one of the guests on the show. There's going to be kind of a round table going there, and we're going to be taking phone calls in on the during the show from 11 o'clock to midnight on American Freedom Radio. Be sure and tune in. If you have any questions, we're going to have an extensive discussion on these facts and all, and we would appreciate you calling in and offering your 2 cents.